Hello, everyone. I am Aishwarya from FitBudd's marketing team. Thank you so much for joining us today for another webinar. Before we begin, please allow me to give a brief introduction of FitBudd for those who might be new here. FitBudd helps you launch your own fitness app to train clients and grow your business online. You can sell programs, track progress, and stay connected all in one place. No tech skills needed, just coach, scale, and do what you love. We also offer a 30-day free trial, so you can schedule your free demo with our expert using the link that we'll share in the chat. Moving on, I am excited to welcome a true authority in the fitness world, Eric Dagati, a fitness coach, educator, and a speaker with over 25 years of experience. Eric has trained Olympic champions and guided some of the most respected professionals in fitness industry. He's here today to share his proven strategies to help you coach smarter, save time, and deliver real results. So, without further delay, let's begin today's webinar. Over to you, Coach.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. I've been a very happy FitBudd customer since the early days of FitBudd and continue to tell everybody that we work with, all the coaches and trainers around the world, that highly recommend it, and can't tell you enough about how great it's been, and it's integral to the coaching app that I've created for myself. And so let's talk a little bit about that today. But before we do, a lot of times as coaches and trainers, we're on this side of things and we're always the one asking the questions about our clients. Well, I'm going to start off the other way around. I want to find out about you. And so before we start, we're going to have a quick poll, and I want to find out who we have in the audience today. So if you could tell me a little bit about you before we get started, that will be helpful. So we're going to pop up a quick poll for you. So how would you best describe yourself? Now, probably a lot of us can fall under multiple categories, but what do you spend most of your day doing? Is it online? Is it something that you do independently, whether it be going to people's locations or working out of another location? Are you part of a team in a facility or in a team itself? Or are you actually a facility owner or a training director? So just give me an idea, a little bit about who you are, and that will help drive some of the ways I'll position some of the content for today. So while we're getting that information, I'm going to pull up my screen here and we'll get started. So just give me a thumbs up in the chat if everybody can see my screen okay. All right. And so here's excellent. Thank you, Julianne. So here's where we're going to get started. And along the way, I want this to be interactive. So if you have any questions at all, let's drop those right into either the chat or the Q&A. And that way I'll do my best to answer those as we go. And we'll have plenty of time at the end for additional questions. And so it looks like our attendees are pretty much, evenly split between online coaches and in-person coaches and facility owners and trainers, directors. And so this will be great for everyone on here, because you're going to get to see how to become not only more effective, but a little bit more efficient in what you do. And I'll tell you a little bit of my history and how I got to here and why I needed this. Is I am a former, for the facility directors and owners out there, I owned my own facility for 12 years. It was a multidisciplinary center where I had 9 trainers working underneath me, as well as group fitness instructors and clinicians and so forth, all sharing underneath the same roof. And we need to have some systems. And so I needed something that could scale, something that people were coming to see me, but there's only so much of me to go around. So how do I replicate that? And that as a facility owner, a lot of times what happens is you are the face of the business and they want to train with you, but you can only do so much and there's only so many hours in a day. So how do you scale you? And then for the online coaches, if we want to then be able to create more programs and be able to be available to more people, we need to figure out a better way that we can address our programming. So let's get started. First question I have is, why would I train with you? All right. How do you differentiate yourself when there are literally thousands and thousands of online coaches? There's hundreds, thousands of personal trainers and fitness, people, professionals around the world. Why would I choose to work with you? And the one thing that I always look for in the coaches that I've either hired or mentored along the way is to say, are you a coach or trainer that I will drive past 5 other trainers to get to you? Are you someone that I will throw out every other email or scroll past every other post from other fitness people because I want to tune into what you have to say. And so with all that competition out there, for the person who's looking for the fitness program, they have YouTube. They have all the online coaches that are available selling programs from as little as $3 up to $3,000. Then you have places like Orange Theory and F45 and big name boot camps. They have a lot more marketing dollars than a lot of us have, especially the independent coaches out there. So how are we going to stand out amongst all that noise? And how are we going to actually make it viable where we're going to be able to make a good business out of this, where we can actually make it economically viable while we're still providing high quality content and programming? So the key with that is really good programs, right? And there's a lot of noise out there. If you're a personal trainer or a fitness coach, you know that every day you're going to get in your direct messages somebody trying to sell you on how they're going to get you 100 leads by tomorrow and they're going to get you $10,000 months and all these different things with their marketing. And I look with a very side eye towards that and don't trust a lot of that information because a lot of those are just failed personal trainers. But even if they were right, and even if 100 people did sign up for your program or show up to train with you, that may actually be the worst thing that ever happened to your business because we only get one chance at this. And if they all show up and you're not good, well, then not only is that not good that they're not going to come back, but they're going to tell everybody else about that. And you're never going to be able to regain that market share. And so we need to make sure that we're ready before they ever walk in the door. And so that's why we need really good programs. Now, here's something we need to distinguish. There's a big difference between a program and a workout. Now, I'm going to use a lot of analogies today. And the first analogy I'm going to use is this. I want to imagine that you're going to build your dream house, right? And you have all these ideas of what you want in your dream house. You've bought a perfect plot of land to build your dream house on. And what you then do is you go around and you start hiring contractors. You hire someone who could do all the framing and all the woodwork. You hire someone who's great with the electrical. You hire the best plumber you could find. You hire the best landscaper you could find, the best roofer, the best HVAC. You find all these contractors. You get the best that are available. And you have them all show up at that address at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. Is your dream house going to get built? No. Why not? Because you don't have a plan, right? You need a blueprint. You need a blueprint and you need a general contractor who oversees all that and puts it all together that says, okay, here's where we're putting everything, why we're putting everything, when we're putting everything, and how. That is what a program is. The workout is like all those individual contractors. The program is like the general contractor and the blueprint. Without that, your workouts may not produce anything, right? And so we need to make sure that the workouts support the program, and the program is what really drives everything. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't looking at it that way. They're just putting together workouts. And so here's what we need to have in great programs. They need to be repeatable, meaning that if I give it to you, I should be able to get similar results if I give it to someone else who has the same framework and the same archetype. It should be reliable in that I know that I can deliver it or you can deliver it and it'll get the same result. It doesn't require the talent of the coach so much for it to work. It needs to be appropriate, meaning that I need to have the right program. I wouldn't share the same program with one of my NFL players that I would with someone who's coming back from back pain who just wants to play some weekend golf. They're very different programs. And then most importantly, they need to work. And so how do we get all of this to happen? So here's the next question where we're going to have another poll. How do you write your programs? And so what is your system for developing your programs? So do you develop personalized workouts for each client? Do you have kind of goal-based template workouts, like you have a fat loss program, you have a strength program, function program, whatever it may be? Or do you just kind of post workouts of the day where you're going to say, here's an ab workout today, or here's Tuesday's workout? So just let me know, like, what's the primary way you're delivering your services to your clients? Now, with that, I want you to imagine a scenario. All right. So first of all, let me go back. I'm going to picture you're going to two scenarios in a coffee shop. First is, what do most coaches do when they put together programs? I know what I did in the beginning is I'd sit down in the coffee shop or at the desk at the gym. I'd sit down with a blank sheet of paper and say, okay, it's Joe's program. What am I going to give to Joe? And so I'd have this blank sheet of paper. I'm going to start writing this program from scratch. Now, unfortunately, that takes a lot of time. And the worst part about that time is, as you know, we don't get paid for that time really. And so I needed to find a better way to create programs that was a little more effective, a little bit more efficient. And so what I then did is came up with this other scenario. And this other scenario is this. Okay. Imagine you're in that same coffee shop and the person next to you notices that you're a trainer. And so with that, they say, hey, could you write me a workout? I want to get fit. I want to get in shape. I just joined the gym. Could you write me a workout? And all of us on here could probably grab the napkin, write down a pen, and write down a really good program that'll work, right? Now, here's the problem. The person will look at that and they'll say, "Hey, that's cool. I really appreciate this, but I just started working out. I don't know how to do this stuff. Or I have this lower body issue with my knee, and I don't know if I could do some of these exercises. Or I really want to work on developing my arms a little bit more. Is there something we could do for that? Or I don't know how to do a lot of these exercises, and I kind of don't have the time to do what you're asking me to do. And I don't have a lot of equipment available to me, or I don't have the space, or I need to start training for a 5K at the same time, or I don't know if I can handle this level of training." Or what do I do next week if I get bored? All of these limitations are things that are going to pop up. It could be one, it could be all. And so now you have to recreate that program. Does it mean I need to sit back down with a blank white sheet of paper? No. It means that what we're going to do now is we're going to create a template system that is going to address all of these issues. What I'm going to do is I'm going to solve your problem before you even walk in the door. I know what your problems are going to be. From doing this for almost 27 years now, all the problems are going to sum up to something on this list or a combination of them. So if I have a program that's pretty much ready for each one of them, I've already taken 5 steps ahead. And so I don't have to now sit down with that blank white sheet of paper. And so now here's what we can do. We can take these program limitations, factor them in, and we can plan for them. So now here's what I have. This is going to look a little confusing at first, but let me explain. I wanted to create a flowchart and an algorithm that accounts for all of these things that are going to pop up. So basically what I do is this, is I start at the top and I ask a bunch of questions of myself that I will have asked the coach, or actually the client, I should say, prior to. And here's how it works. You'll see it works 1 through 9. We're not going to go through all 9 today. We won't have the time, but I'm going to walk you through some of it. And at the end of it, what we're going to have is a custom program. Now, is it a custom program, meaning I sat down with a blank white sheet of paper? No. But do you need to? No. All right. I'm sure we've all been to Chipotle, right? And when you go into Chipotle, you go in and you order your custom bowl or burrito or salad. And the person in front of you, they're getting a custom one too. And the person behind them is getting a custom one too. Now, does that mean we have a kitchen that has all, is a scratch kitchen where everybody's going to make everything to order? No. They have basically 20 bins of things that they pull from. And you're going to choose the black beans where I may choose the pinto beans. And they're going to choose rice where I may choose the burrito. At the end of it, we're still getting what we need, but we're pulling from those same bins. And so they can put a ton of people through that line in a pretty short order, all giving them individualized custom meals. And we can almost look at it the same way. So if you think of those 10 or 20 bins, well, that's basically the movement patterns that we have. Everything we do is based on these 9 patterns in the gym. We're squatting, we're hinging, we're lunging. We're pushing either up and down or front to back. We're pulling up and down or front to back. We're rotating or we're carrying. And everything is some derivation or something that is coming from these original 9 patterns. So it's almost like the analogy of, like, think about a calculator. Calculator has only 10 digits, yet those 10 numbers make every number in the world. And so as long as you have those 10 digits, it's just a matter of up to your math skill of how much you can get out of that. Well, now it's just down to your coaching and training skill, how much you can get out of these 9 patterns. But it's like those bins at Chipotle. We're all pulling from the same thing. Now it's a question of, well, which squat do we do with you? Or maybe we don't even squat with you at all because there's some sort of limitation that maybe that's not the best choice for right now. And we have to do some sort of alternative for the time being. But either way, this is going to be my checklist in terms of programming to saying in your program somewhere I'd like to have all these represented. Are they all represented in every single workout? Not necessarily, but across the base of your program, they should at least be seen or represented somewhere. So now, this is the discussion that I had with my partner, Mike Perry. Now, Mike Perry and I have something called Principles of Program Design. We'll tell you a little bit about later. And him and I sit down and talk about programming a lot. And one of the things I theorized in one of our hypothetical conversations was if two people walked into your door today, and let's say we have, and the demographic that I work with on my personal coaching side is I focus on men over 40, but specifically active and competitive men. I deal with the guys who are still involved in sports and still training hard. And so I said, but if two of those guys walked into me and they had similar medical history, injury history, training history, and so forth, they were at similar levels of fitness. But one said to me their primary goal was to get in good shape aesthetically because the summer's coming up and they want to look good for their beach vacation. And the other one said, well, I'm looking forward to the summer because I'm going to be golfing a lot and I want to improve my golf game. If you have those two cases that came in, how different are their programs going to look? And after a lot of back and forth, Mike came up with this great line. He said, it's basically going to be the same meat, just different bread. And I loved it. And so we made this graphic to say, like, you're going to warm them both up. The warm up may be a little different, but they both need a warm up. The person who's just training for body composition, they don't need to really focus on their speed or power. They don't care about that. So we're not going to put much, if any, of that in there. But I do need that for the person who want to improve their golf game. They both need to strength train, and they both need to use all those patterns that we just talked about. Then, in terms of aerobic fitness, as long as I check the boxes of across the spectrum of what they need for aerobic fitness with the general population and the body composition client, they'll get to their goals. But I might need a little bit more specific energy system development for the athlete. And then at the end, they both are going to cool down. They may look a little different, but it's the same elements. So that's why I kind of love this idea of same meat, different bread. It's not vastly different. Unfortunately, what we see with a lot of the coaches that we work with and that comes to our workshops is that if those two people came in, what happens is the fat loss person, well, what do they get? They get a bunch of HIIT workouts and burpees and bicep curls. And then the person who comes in for performance for golf, well, they get everything that tries to look like golf. Everything's rotational. Everything tries to mimic golf. And the reality is golfers need to squat. They need to lunge. They need to bend. And then the reality is that the other person needs a more full-scale development so we don't have any holes in their program as well. So they're going to look a lot more the same than they are different. Now, the next thing you're going to do is start with a base program. Now, the base program I'm going to show you, I could have written 1,000 different ways. Every one of you could have written this 1,000 ways. And I'm not telling you how exactly to write your programs or telling you these are the only workouts you should be doing. That's not the concept. That's why we created the principles of program design, meaning these are the principles I want you to follow, but how you execute it, whether you're somebody who's more biased in powerlifting, bodybuilding, Pilates, kettlebells, it doesn't really matter. Take what you're really good at and apply it. Create your own base program. Make it your style and flavor, and then adjust it based on these principles that we're going to share with you today. Now, here's a base template. All right. This is just a general full body workout that's going to address all those patterns we said before. We have a robust warm up that's in there, and that warm up is based on what we call our 2-4-4 system. That 2-4-4 system addresses some of the key areas that we see, especially with adults where they're lacking mobility and stability. So we want to address those, keying in on the ankles, the hips, and the trunk and thoracic spine. Then we go into some station workouts. Why are we doing station workouts? Well, I always say when we do a station workout or some sort of compound set or superset or mini circuit, we can sometimes be doing that for conditioning, but in these cases we're not. We're doing them more just for efficiency, so we can get more done in less time. If you look at a lot of programs across the way and we look at limitations and you ask everybody what their biggest limitation is, generally it's time. So if we can find a way to get them out of the door getting more accomplished, we've done wonders for our client right out of the gates. Now, they've also done some pretty good research looking at using supersets and compound sets and trisets and mini circuits like this. And they found that you get just as good a results You just do it in less time. And the only downside is it's a little more challenging. And so we can easily adjust for that, whether it's within repetitions or whether it's with resistance or other ways to scale the exercises. But here's our general template. Now, again, you could create your general template any way you'd like, but here's just one so we have an example. Now, what I want to do then is play with this and add some limitations onto it. So, first question I'm going to ask, is this client advanced? Do I need to really go into some advanced programming with them? If not, well, then I just go to the next step in the algorithm. So remember that algorithm and flow chart I showed you before. So we're going to walk you through some of those steps. If they're not advanced, then just keep moving down the line. Now, what is advanced? Advanced, we have some qualifications for it. Usually that person has at least a minimum of 1 year of solid training underneath them. They have very specific goals and they have a generous amount of time that they can allot to their training. That ends up being maybe 10% of the clients. Even when I'm working in high performance with some of the best athletes in the world, even they're very advanced at their sport and you can watch them on TV and buy their jersey at the store. Doesn't mean they're advanced in the gym. They're not advanced at working out. And so we have to do some diligence to say not everybody needs advanced programming. And I can tell you that firsthand. And if you were to walk into an NFL weight room, you were to watch a Major League Baseball player train, not everything is what you see on social media. That is a 10-second soundbite and clip to get you to click and get your attention. If you really saw what most of the best in the world do, it is a lot of the basics. They just do it really well and really consistently. So here's some of the, like I said, some of the qualifiers here, right? So they have a very specific goal and with a time limit, meaning that my clients have to get ready for a tryout, or they have to get ready for their preseason camp, or they have to get ready for a very specific, date. They can train a lot throughout the week and they can hit all of their training minimums. If we have a whole set of training minimums that we have in what we call our belt system, and that they've been doing this a while, all right? Again, that's about 10% of the people. Everybody else just needs some general programming. So next is, do you do any sort of evaluation? And so if you don't do an evaluation, you don't really have any criteria to change your workout. You have nothing to stand on to say, well, they should do this versus this, because you're really just guessing. And so the first thing I do, even if I'm coaching someone online, is within my app, I've added a bunch of self-assessments that people can do. And so that way I can qualify what are some of the things that they should do, what are the things that they shouldn't do, and where do I start them to meet them where they're at. And if you don't do any level of evaluation, okay, I would highly recommend that you start having that. But if you don't, well, then you have no criteria now because if not, you're just guessing. If you do have an evaluation, the first thing we want to look at, do they have any physical limitations? Meaning, are they presenting something that they can't do? Let's say you have a person can't even touch their toes. Well, maybe deadlifting's not the best option for them right out of the gates. It doesn't mean that deadlifts are bad, and it doesn't mean that they're never going to deadlift. It just means that we have some limitations that we have to work around now, and I'm going to have to adjust my programming accordingly. Now, if they have limitations, well, then I might want to dig a little bit deeper, and I have ways I can further evaluate that, and I'm going to adjust accordingly. Okay. If they don't have any, then we just keep moving on. So let's go back to that base template. All right. Remember this? Well, I have a couple things highlighted because let's say someone has a lower body issue, whether it's an ankle, a knee, or hip. And some of these things that I highlighted, I might not want to do that with this individual. So do I need to start from scratch? Nope. I just slip these things out and put in things that are a little bit more safe and effective, and something that's going to maybe even address and fix some of those lower body issues. When it comes to their strength, I'll take out some of these things and maybe have them do a little more isometric work and put them in positions and postures and drills that are going to be a little bit safer. That's not going to, at the very least, not going to aggravate their lower body issues. And if anything, it might even make them better. Same thing with their finisher. If they have that lower body issue, maybe a walk-run interval is not the best idea. So I can have them go on a skier or do battle ropes, and they can still get the conditioning effect and they're still training hard, but I haven't had to completely, and I just made some slight tweaks to my program. Same thing with the cool down, just make some slight adjustments. Now, what if I have an upper body issue? Same thing, slide out some of the things that I don't feel 100% comfortable with, and I'll adjust them with ones that I do. Go into your strength. Same thing, probably a little bit more on the isometric side, probably a little bit less on the dynamic side, and get them to create a little bit more stability and control. That's not only going to not aggravate their problem, but it's going to maybe even make it better. Same thing with the finisher. Make some slight adjustments. So they're still working hard. They're still getting the metabolic effect or the conditioning effect that you're looking for, but we're not making things worse. And then same thing with the cool down. So you can see here, here's two things where, when I first started working in a big box gym, the way I built my clientele was, I was known as the guy who was the problem solver. And so when you came in and signed up for your membership and you had a knee issue or you had a shoulder issue or you had some sort of restriction, a lot of the other trainers would get scared. And I would say, well, great, give them to me. And so I would then not only be able to have some solutions to possibly, make those situations better, but more importantly, I could get them to continue to train because that's going to be the biggest thing that's going to make them healthy and robust and resilient again. And that's how I built my clientele. That's how I got to be known for being able to handle and problem solve for the people that came in with these limitations. Next thing is people may have specific weak links that they say that they'll have, whether it's from an athletic standpoint or they may have some certain focus points. And I'll ask them up front in their initial questionnaire that I have right on my app is when you're doing your onboarding. Do you have anything specific you want to work on? And they'll tell me I want to work on my core, or my arms, or I want to work on my rotation, whatever that may be. But if they don't have anything specific that they really are wanting, then we just proceed to the next step. What are some of the things that they might want? Well, I need to develop my speed, or I need to be able to work in different planes of movement athletically, or there may be some differences from right to left. And so I might need to address them more unilaterally versus bilaterally in their exercises, or there may be certain body parts that they really want to develop for aesthetics or other reasons. And so I'll just adjust the program accordingly. So let's say that person comes in, you have your generic template, but they say, I really want to work on my arms. I have a wedding coming up and I have a sleeveless dress and I want to be able to show off some arms. So what can we do to my program for that? Again, I'm not getting out a white sheet of paper and starting from scratch. I'm going to take that simple template that I had. I'm going to make some slight adjustments. I'm not going to really change the warm up. The warm up will be more or less the same, but I'm just going to slide some of the strength stuff out, and I'm going to add some more specific arm work in and a little bit more upper body focus. And then same thing with the finisher. I'm going to swap some. I'm going to move the farmer's walk out of the finisher. And then I'm just going to do a superset, do a little arm, bot, great pump at the end. So they walk out feeling like their arms are tired and they feel that pump and they're looking at themselves in the mirror. And you do that combined with a little assault bike work. And you got someone who's really satisfied with their program. And I didn't have to make major adjustments. I made minor adjustments that's going to not only check all the boxes of what they need, but it's also going to give them what they want. All right, so let's go back to that situation I said earlier. We have that guy who comes in, wants to improve his golf game. Remember, same meat, different bread? Well, we take our base template. This golfer comes in. And so what do we need to do? Well, we know that for golf, there are certain things that in terms of a movement profile and in terms of an athletic profile that you need. And that's why some of the best golfers in the world all have their own private trainers and coaches and physical therapists. Probably about 85% of them have somebody who's TPI certified, which I am. And so I have the ability to really understand what golfers' demands are. And so I'm just going to take your warm up and I'm going to add a little bit more rotation so I can address the extreme demands that golf has of getting rotation at the hips, at the trunk, and being able to address that and getting you a little bit more athletic. Next is make some adjustments in your strength program. Not everything has to look like golf, but now I have to address that golf not only is an up and down, and there is some up and down. Actually, the squat has a high correlation with how long you drive a golf ball. But there's obviously side to side movement. There's a lot of rotation in there. It's a unilaterally dominant sport. So I want to make my training reflect that. So I'm going to get more unilateral exercise in there. I'm going to get exercises that move me side to side and move me into rotation, or sometimes maybe have fight rotation. And then there's a huge speed and power component to that. And so that's where I'm going to start getting some things like medicine ball slams in there. Again, not major changes, but slight changes. And it's the same patterns. It's the same pattern. So if we go back, that push, that's a push up, that's a horizontal push, becomes a standing cable press. right? It's the same bins, just like at Chipotle. I'm just picking a different variety. I'm picking pinto beans versus black beans, and I'm getting them something that's a little bit more specific to their goals. Same thing with their finisher. They need to work a lot side to side. They need to be able to accelerate, decelerate as you're going through your golf swing, right? They need to have stability in their trunk and shoulders that they can maintain for long rounds that may throughout the day. And so that's where something like a longer carry would carry over really well. Well, what if they have no limitations? There are people who will get through, and I skipped through because we obviously don't have time to break down all nine. But what if they go through all nine and they don't have any limitations? There's no physical limitations, there's no time, no space, none of these things come up. Well, guess what? You just keep your base program. And so now you just give them this. And the only reason you would need to change this program is for is that one is that one of those limitations pops up, that maybe somewhere along the way they had a long, cross country flight, and now they're a little bit stiffer in their hips and back, and we need to concentrate on that more. Or maybe their goal changed. Maybe now that they have certain things they want to focus on, or maybe something else changed, like I said, in those limitations where they have more time or less time or more equipment available to them or less equipment available to them. All those things are all reasons why I would change your program. If not, theoretically, you could do this program for a long time and still produce pretty good results. What's going to be your barrier there? You're going to get bored. And more importantly, they're going to get bored. And so that's where all things we need to do is just add some variety. Now, for variety, I don't have to be super, super creative other than just go into my bins and say, okay, well, I'm just going to take those same things that I was working on and I'm going to just switch them. So I'm going to create an alternate version to this general template. So that warm up changes into this warm up. If you'll notice, it's still ankle mobility, it's still hip mobility and control, it's still trunk mobility and control. I'm just doing different drills for it. Then when I go into the stations, it's still lunging, squatting, pushing, pulling, all those things. I'm just going to do different variations of it. And so instead of my front squat, I'm doing a single leg box squat. Instead of my dumbbell row, I'm doing an inverted pull up. Instead of the push up, I'm doing a floor press. And so you see, I'm pulling from those same bins. I just created variety. And so we'll see, I'll give you a peek into what my personal FitBudd looks like in a minute. I have basically 6 versions of my base template. And so if I just change your program roughly every month, I could just rotate the same 6 programs twice a year and I've got everything written for you. And then all I need to do is adjust, like I said earlier, if one of those things changes. If your goal changes, if one of these limitations presents itself, or if you just need variety, well, I have 6 different versions of the same program. And you'll see I can do the same thing with the finisher and cool down. So here's a peek into what my FitBudd looks like. Notice all these things that are in here, these templates, those are going to look familiar. Remember all those limitations that I said? They don't have training ability. They don't have the work tolerance. They don't have time. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the space. Every one of these, I have a template ready for it. And I also have 6 base templates for variety. So now when I go to write your program, here's what all I need to do is I don't need to go and write a whole brand new program from scratch. All right, here's what I can do. Let's say I'm writing a program for Juliana. All I do is go in that top little pencil in the top right, and I change the name, and I write Juliana's May 2025 program. Save that, and then maybe I need to change 1 or 2 exercises because maybe they have more than one limitation, and assign it, and it's ready to go. I didn't have to write a whole new program. I've done that. Trust me, it is a lot of time. It is very tedious, and it can really drain you. And again, we're often not getting paid for that. And so if I can have all this ready to go, I have the ability to not only get more things done in less time, I have the ability to take on more clients. And so I can get more done in less time. I can grow my business and I can scale. And the same goes for if I'm trying to scale and I have a staff, because maybe you are that program director, facility director, or owner, and you say, well, how do I get everybody so they're on the same page? So I don't have to worry about, and that's the challenge that I had early on as the the name and face of the business and um, I had a staff of 9 trainers. How do I have it where there's no drop off? Where if you trained with Mike or if you trained with Kirsten or you trained with any one of my staff, you should get the same experience that it would with me other than the personality type. And that was the biggest thing to match up. All the interpersonal skills, that was finding the right fit. As far as the training itself, the training quality was always top notch. It was always on the same page. And the beauty of that is that if for some reason that Mike is away on vacation, well, Kirsten can pick up his clients and not miss a beat. And they'll know exactly where they're at because we're working off of the same system. It's like Chipotle and we're all pulling out of the same 20 bins. We don't have to go and train somebody nearly as much and get them involved where we're counting on their talent to write an individualized program every time. We've taken them already almost all the way there. And all they need to do is add their own personal touch of what they're really good at coaching and add their own good interpersonal skills. And now we can create a really good service that we provide for them. Okay, so I've been going a while here. And I'm from New Jersey, so I can talk a lot and I can talk fast sometimes. So I hope I'm not getting beyond anybody here. So if it's okay, before we open up the Q&A, what I want to do is just share a few things with you in terms of if you're sitting there and saying, wow, this is a lot. And I understand. We teach our workshop sometimes or I'll speak at a conference and people are like, wow, there's a lot to soak in 45 minutes. So what if you want to learn more about this? Because like I said, we have this whole algorithm put together, and this is all part of our foundations course that we have. And we have templates for every single one of them. We share all those templates with you. But before you would even get started with that, before you even worry about, signing up for courses or any of those things, what we created is we want to pay it forward. Look, I've been in the industry for 27 years. Mike's going on 20. And we said, what if we could give a guidebook to that coach or trainer out there that is either just getting started out and doesn't know what to do and how to make a career out of this, or you're that coach or trainer that has pretty much hit the ceiling. And I've been there. I get it. Been there. You're like, my schedule's full and I can't charge anymore. I have no more hours in my week. How do I grow and expand and scale? So Mike and I sat down and said, all right, what would be 10 things we would teach them? And so we created this ebook, which is also going to be tied to a online free webinar that you'll be able to get access to once it's up and ready. But right now the ebook is ready to go. If you just scan this QR code, and this is us sharing 50 years of experience of saying, hey, here's some things that you could do to get a head start so you don't have to make a lot of the mistakes that we made and you don't have to go through a lot of the aggravation that we went through. And so it covers everything from programming to how to set up your business to how to address different goals that a lot of people have, whether it's to work with high-end clients like we have, or whether it's to go out and be an industry leader and do what we're doing and speaking at conferences and so forth, or you just want to grow and scale a really good training business. We're going to kind of give you the ins and outs of that, and you can get that for free. So please go download this free ebook and check it out. And then once you get that, the webinar that we just recorded to go with that goes a little bit more in depth, that has a couple hours worth of content to it. You'll get access to that as soon as that's ready in the next couple weeks. Now, that's the question. Are you ready to be what we always look for is the top 1% in the industry? The people that, again, I'm going to scroll past 10 other trainers and coaches because I want to see what you have to say. And you're the trusted resource that I'm going to go to. You're the one that I'm going to tell my friends about. I'm going to drive past 10 other facilities to get to your facility because I have people that will drive an hour, 2 hours to come for a coaching session with me. And Mike has the same. Mike has worked with some of the top mixed martial artists in the world. He works with now some of the top lacrosse players in the world. And as I said earlier and in the introduction, I've had the ability to work with in the good graces and good fortune to work with some of the best athletes in the world and speak all over the world. And you don't get that by being average. And so my challenge to you is to not be average. And unfortunately, and this is one of the other reasons why we wrote the ebook, is that we have a lot of people in our industry who get into it for the right reasons. They're passionate about helping people. They've maybe had the impact of fitness and better health change their own lives, and now they want to change others. But unfortunately, statistics show in personal training that most people are out of the industry in 6 to 24 months, and we want to change that because we had people that were good people that were passionate that wanted to help, but they just didn't have direction, and that's why we want to try to address those things in our ebook, and that's why we want to encourage you to be that top 1% of the industry, and attending things like this is you're already a big part of the way. You could have been doing anything for the last hour and you could have been getting paid for it, right? But you chose to better yourself and be here. And so I applaud you for that. And so you're on your way to being the top 1%. So with that, I want to find out what you want to know. So let's open up the Q&A and drop any questions you have, whether it be about programming, whether it be about how you set up in terms of designing your workouts, in terms of designing your business around those workouts, because that needs to be considered as well. We talk about everything from your facility design and where you set everything up in your facility and what equipment you buy, to how the flow of your sessions should go, to how do you scale this for groups, to how do you then adjust that for any clientele that walks in the door. So we're going to open up to questions. If anybody has any questions, just drop them either in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll get to those right away.
Yeah. As Coach Eric mentioned, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And while those start coming in, I'd like to take a quick moment to reintroduce FitBudd, especially for those who may have joined late or haven't explored the platform yet. In summary, FitBudd helps you grow your fitness business with the power of your branded app. Our platform is the only tool you'd need to seamlessly run your fitness business and build a robust digital brand. So for those interested in experiencing FitBudd firsthand, we offer a 30-day free trial. You can explore more and you can schedule a demo with our team using the link that we just shared in the chat.
And again, a shameless plug that I don't get anything for. I'm going to highly recommend, if you're not a FitBudd user, that you should be one. If you're looking to take your platform online, I did a lot of diligence looking at different app options, and I built the my custom app through FitBudd. And not only is the delivery of what I can do with it exactly what I was looking for, but the service is impeccable. Anytime I need anything, I can get on a support call, and they get sick of me a little bit over at FitBudd for all the questions and the feature requests that I have, but they answer them all, and they address them as soon as I need them, and so I can't recommend them high enough.
Thank you so much,
So
Coach. Me coming from you.
I see a couple questions coming in. Let me see if I can grab one here. What do you suggest for a new trainer beginning their marketing strategy and get themselves out there? Okay, so your best business builder is going to be there's in business they'll call it different levels of leads in terms of hot, warm, cold. Your best leads, your hot leads are going to be your referrals. And one of the things that we always talk about in our workshops is building what we call forever clients. And what that means is you want to get clients that will be with you for long term. 30-day challenges are cool, and 6 weeks to summer things are cool promotions to get people in the door. But the problem with that is you have to keep refilling that bucket. And so because of that, I'm going to encourage that you do something that builds retention and referrals. Those are your two big R's. So what I always do is you need to look for opportunities for those things. Now, I'm sure for the coach that asked this, I'm sure you've had some success moments with your clients when they got that first full push up, or they lost 2 inches off their waist. That's when it's the opportunity to say, hey, so proud of you. Listen, I think what you're doing is phenomenal. Is there anybody else that you know that you think would benefit from this? Because they're going to want to tell the world. And so having a system in place for referrals is incredibly impactful. And so I'm not the best person for those types of systems. I would highly recommend looking into like Results Fitness with Alan and Rachel Cosgrove out in California. They have some incredible systems that they talk with referrals, or Vince Gabriel and his programs go really into the specifics of this. But number one is get referrals and ask for referrals, because your clients are going to be the best thing, way more than a DM or any of those things are going to get. So, Let's see what else we have for questions. Um, all right. So Juliana, you just starting out. How many templates should you start with? Well, you need to start with your base template, and the base template also should be for the environment you're working in. So I'll give you an example. In our we have a training mentorship that we do, or we have trainers and clinicians from around the world that we do coaching calls with each week, and we have the accountability. They have to submit case studies and so forth, and each one of them has a very different setting. And so because of that, you have to have it ready for your setting. So if you're someone that trains in home or someone that trains people with minimal equipment, make your templates based on that. Don't make your templates set up that only could get done in a big box gym if that's not what your clients have access to. So start with your base templates. And then what I want you to do is pay attention to what challenges your clients have. That's what I did with the limitations list. I have 25 years of seeing the same limitations pop up again and again. So that's why I created that kind of that list of 9 or 10 things and then created a template for each of those. So if you have a lot of clients that say to you, I want to focus more on this, or I have a challenge with this, then just make a template for that, because if that's a recurring theme, you want to be able to address that head on. Next, we have Tammy. That question is probably for FitBudd support. They can help you better than I can there. Um, okay, great question here, Johnny. Your online clients, what is your onboarding like? Okay, so I took, this is another thing I love about FitBudd, is you can customize your onboarding questionnaire. So I ask a ton of questions in the onboarding questionnaire, and a lot of them lead, quite frankly, Jenny, to those limitations that you have, that you'll see is, okay, what do you have available to you for space? What do you have available for you for time? What is your training experience like? All those limitations that you saw on the list, I have those almost all packaged in different ways with different questions. And so a lot of that is in the onboarding questionnaire that I get. That's number one. Number two is that I always do a strategy session with my online clients. And that's where I'll have another set of questions, which I call key questions that we teach in our workshop, that is the interpersonal questions, not just what is your goal, but more importantly, why? Why is that your goal? Why are you here today? Why did you start today and not yesterday or not tomorrow? What does that look like for you? What is life like if you can now have this thing or be able to do these things? And asking some really detailed questions. So really create some rapport building and trust building in that interactive strategy session. And then the last piece, as I said, is I created a bunch of videos that I have created as exercises that I can then assign, and I have them in my resources section where there's a lot of self-assessments, whether they're more holistic self-assessments, looking at kind of their life priorities or things like that, or there's physical assessments where I have cardiovascular assessments in there, I have movement assessments in there, I have performance testing in there, where people can do their own testing and then give me those results. And then from there, I can tailor the program. Let's see. Do I use the same method for meal plan assignment? Yes, Tammy, I do. Is start with a base template. That there's some general rules that we know that we want to have for most people in terms of, being protein centric in terms of what we want for a calorie amounts based on whether their goals to gain muscle or lose body fat or maintain. And then from there, make the adjustments based on as needed and depending on how detailed you can get within your scope of practice. So, yes, Tammy, I would do the same thing with your nutrition. Let's see what else we have in here. Great questions, by the way, everybody. Um, want to target, okay, Tanner, want to target guys who are competing backyard circuits. Okay, so um, Tanner, you should talk to my partner Mike Perry. So he trains some of the best mixed martial artists in the world, which sounds really cool until you realize most mixed martial artists are broke, like you said, and especially the one until they've got that. Yeah, he's got some high level UFC fighters, but for every one of those, there's the one that's scrapping and barely getting by, and so it's not a very fruitful thing. Nobody gets into training fighters to get rich. Mike has gotten some of those, unless you get those really high level guys, which you're going to need to build a reputation for, you're going to have to train a lot of lower level guys. And so with that, my biggest suggestion is, okay, well, if they can't pay you individually a whole lot, you then either have to make use of your time a little better. So either that's more generic programs that you don't need as much hands-on interaction with. So like with my program, I have an ageless athlete blueprint that I sell to guys over 40. I have different models of it where one is a completely independent program and I've done all the steps ahead of time so you can do it independently. Or if you need additional coaching, you can then scale up to that. But once that program is built, it takes me a lot of time in the front end to build it. But once it's built, I don't need to do a lot of, time investment once you purchase that. And so that's one way to do it. Or you could do them as groups. And having a group is also a great way to do that. And so I would recommend either groups or generic programs or a little bit of both. Um, let's see what other questions I have in here. Sarah, your question, do I have various program? Well, I kind of just answered that. Yes, I have various program pricing depending on how much involvement I need to have. If you're just going to do a step-by-step independent program, well, I can sell that at a much lower price point than I can if you're going to invest, if I actually have to be spending time with you. So my pricing is scaled based purely on that. And pretty much sounds like what you're doing here, where it's self-paced versus something else. Some of these other questions that are in here. But yes, Sarah, to the end of your question, yes, don't give them, if you give them 20 options, it's overwhelming, right? Just make it very simple. I have basically 3 options with mine: completely independent, once a week once a month coaching. That's it. And then everything is based off of that. Um, let's see what other questions we have in here. Tanner, I'm going to pop up our contact information for Principles of Program Design in a little bit. And you can check us out on there, and you're going to look for Coach Mike Perry. You can check him out. Let's see what other questions in here. There's also the website on there. Thank you for posting that. Let's see if we have any other questions as we're getting towards the end here. Anybody want to sneak in that last question? I think I got to all of them. Okay, someone asked about posting that limitations list again. So I'm going to scroll back really quickly to the limitations list, and then I'm going to jump ahead. Give me a second here. Oops. There you go. There's your limitations. These are the limitations I found. Again, working with thousands of people, these are the ones that kept coming up. And so this is something that I took a lot of time to sit down and say, okay, how am I going to address all these things ahead of time? Tammy, that question is FitBudd support. I can kind of answer that. Yes, you can make changes within your onboarding questionnaire, but talk to the support is great with that. They helped me when you initially did that, when I initially got set up as well. And now I make adjustments as I learn. I make more adjustments all the time. All right, so everybody get a good luck or a screenshot or take a picture of all those limitations. All right, awesome. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Give me a second. I want to just jump ahead in my slides. Bear with me. Okay. And I think I got to all the questions there. All right. So one other thing I'd like to share with you. So a lot of these questions. So Jenny, your question about recommend for marketing systems. The other thing that you have as a free resource is a podcast that Mike and I started as part of our project for Principles of Program Design. It's called Principles of Performance. Now, we're very cool. We're just ranked in the top 30 fitness podcasts worldwide. We're on episode 141. And if you look at some of the names we've had, it's some of the legends of our industry. And so any question you want to find out, so you want to find out about marketing, we have a whole episode with Vince Gabriel. We have episodes with who else would be Rachel Cosgrove was on there in terms of marketing. Some other people that were on there for marketing. Alan Cosgrove was great with that. Anything you want to know as far as training, we've had some of the greats. We've had Kelly Starrett. If you want to learn about movement, he's one of the best. You want to learn about conditioning, there's nobody better than Joel Jameson. Dwayne Carlisle, legendary NFL strength coach. John Berardi, nutrition founder and creator of Precision Nutrition. You name it. NHL strength coaches, some of the best powerlifting people in the world, physical therapists, uh, uh, people for mental health, all of that we've had on here, and we have more coming. Joe DeFranco, legendary strength coach, is on this week. Nick Winkelman was last week talking about cueing and communication. Don Saladino, trainer to the stars. Jill Miller, who was just on Andy Galpin's podcast, coming out talking about mobility. We have a ton more coming, so please tune in. You can get it on YouTube. You can get it on Apple, Amazon, Android, all these different things. So if you want a free education, you have 150 hours of free education from some of the best people in the world. So I highly recommend you check that out. For those of you who have any questions for me, is this. Here's all my social media. I'm putting out content every single day. So please check out and follow and share. This is my website if you ever want more information. And the other thing, if you have on my website, is if you go to ericdagati.com, because I do a lot of public speaking and podcast appearances and those sorts of things, I created something on there called Ask Eric. So if you didn't get your question in, or I didn't answer your question and it's something I can help you with, whether it's today or somewhere down the road, I have people that send me questions that were at a workshop I taught 15 years ago. That's why I have it. And so go to ericdagati.com. There's a thing on the main page called Ask Eric. Drop your question in there. I'll do my best to get you the answer. And if I can't, then I'll find you somebody who can. This is the principles of program design info that people asked about. You can follow us on all our social media here. We have posts every day as well. And there's also our website there. And if you wanted to get more information, we can also set up a free strategy session with you. If you have all these questions about how do I build my business? How do I, get to the next level? That's where we can help you out there. I can't thank you enough for the time, and I want to thank the great people at FitBudd for the opportunity. Hopefully this won't be the last webinar that we do. I have plenty of ideas for more that we can help you out with, but thank you again, and thank you all for attending, and keep striving to be that top 1%.
Thank you all so much for joining us today, and a big thank you to Coach Eric for sharing such powerful insights and strategies. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. And to stay updated on upcoming webinars and events, keep an eye on your inbox and follow us on social media. All the links were shared in the chat. We've got more exciting and valuable sessions coming soon. Until then, take care and happy training. Bye, coaches.
Thank you.